Hi, I'm Kristen Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Are You a Charlotte? Today, we have the lovely Holly Madison, who is going to talk to us about the LA episode where we film at the Playboy Mansion. She has obviously a lot of insight, and she's a television personality. You may know her from Girls Next Door, and she's also a New York Times bestselling author, which I love, and she has a lot of fascinating things to say. So enjoy this conversation with Holly Madison. Okay, this is very exciting. I'm so excited to talk to you. We've never talked before. I didn't get to meet you back in the day. But also, from what I understand, when we filmed Sex and the City at the Playboy Mansion, you had not moved in yet. Is that correct?
No, and I'm so bummed I missed out on it. Like, I got the opportunity to do cameos on some pretty iconic shows there. Like we did Entourage and Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I just missed Sex and the City, which is such a bummer because I'm such a big fan of it. Like we watched that every week when I was at the mansion. And
you did?
Yeah, we did. Hef was a huge fan of it. Yeah.
It's so strange because the whole experience for me and for us in general was very surreal, very strange. Hef was very nice to us, like really sweet and very like almost like your uncle or something, you know, like it was hard to believe that he was him.
Yeah. I mean, that's how he comes off to most people. I mean, that's the person that I fell in love with. Obviously, my situation grew a lot more complicated, but yeah.
It's interesting because like I also feel, and I personally had like such internal conflict about filming there and making it seem kind of like fun and light, I guess would be the word, which is not, it's not like the vibe that I personally had about Playboy, though at that point in time, things were getting, like you guys were very mainstream, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Did you feel that?
Yeah. I mean, that episode came out in 2000 and Hef had been like, he got separated from his wife a few years earlier and started having the parties at the mansion again. And those were, I always tell people, like, it's hard to believe, but those were like the cool parties in LA that you wanted to go to that were super hard to get into. And when I got invited to my first one, I was so excited. It was just such like a bucket list thing.
And how did you get invited?
I was working for Hawaiian Tropic, and at one of the events, Hef's doctor came to the event and he said, I want to invite all these girls to the party. So I was super excited. Yeah.
And was this one of the like pajama parties?
Yeah. The first party I went to was their biggest party. It was called Midsummer Night's Dream. They had that every August. And it was kind of this like fairy themed, like twinkle lights wonderland that they turned the backyard into. And it was really cool.
And when we filmed there, we go to a party. It's kind of slightly confusing because we arrive in the daytime. We're kind of wearing bathing suits. I don't know what the heck we were thinking in the costume department. I think we were confused, right? But it wasn't supposed to be the pajama party or the Midsummer Night's party. It was just some vague party. When you watched the episode, did you think like, oh, that's accurate, or though that's totally inaccurate, or what were your thoughts?
It's pretty accurate. Like I can't pinpoint, like you said, exactly what party that was supposed to be. Like it's a little bit like the Fun in the Sun pool parties, but there were a lot more people there in your guys' scene, a lot more extras. The Fun in the Sun pool parties would have like girls come up and like enjoy the pool and everything. And Hef and his friends would be playing backgammon by the pool. And some of his guy friends would be out on the tennis courts, but it wouldn't be very many people at all, like less than 50 people. So they were pretty intimate. I would say the party I can compare the most to what you guys did was maybe like the 4th of July party, because that would be like a bigger daytime party. And then it would kind of move into a nighttime party. That's kind of, I think that's the only party they threw that was like that went from day to night.
Interesting. And then, so in our scenes where we come in, and I think that we filmed things that didn't end up in the show. At least I remember things that I don't think were in the show. One was that we had this scene where we were walking in and there were people, girls in assorted small bikinis playing with bubbles. I don't know what the heck we were doing, but like what was regular life there like versus a party or when people would come, you know?
Regular life, it was pretty quiet during like a weekday, but at the same time, it wasn't totally private, like a home either. I started giving tours at the mansion because they
Oh,
tours like a few times a week, like in the mornings on weekdays, and they would do it for like contest winners or like military or people like that. And so I would kind of give people a tour of the grounds or whatever. And then one wing of the house was offices. So that's where Hef would go to work. And there was like a whole secretary staff down there. And then aside from his parties, sometimes at night they would rent out the backyard for like corporate events and things like that. So that would kind of be like a whole separate world. So that was kind of the day-to-day life of the house. For me and the other girls living there, we would just kind of during the day do whatever, whatever shopping errands, some of us were still in college or going to school and things like that. We would do that. And then we had like a famous 9 o'clock curfew. And, there would be different activities every night a week, like a couple nights a week, like Wednesday and Friday. Hef would take us out to nightclubs. Wednesday night, yeah, Wednesday night was a club night. Thursday night, we would usually like go out to a restaurant. Friday was a club night. Saturday and Sunday, he would have movie nights. Of course, Sunday during the day was a pool party. Monday,
wow.
he would gather with like his guy friends and watch a movie. He called that manly night. So us girls didn't really have anything to do on Monday. And then
Wow.
Tuesdays, we would usually play like board games or something. So it was a whole variety. It was
Wow.
all over the place. Yeah.
That is so fascinating. I need to read your book. I need to read your book and get all the details because now I'm super interested. How many girls were there when you lived there?
Well, during the last 4 years I was there when we were doing the Girls Next Door show, it was just three of us. But when I first moved in, he was kind of in this seven girlfriends era, and that was just a nightmare. When I was there for that, nobody got along, and it was a
Oh no.
constant revolving door. So it wasn't even the same set of seven girls when I first moved in as there was like 3 or 4 years later. So it was this cast of characters that was just all really competitive and that was my least favorite time living there for sure. It was just a mess.
Yeah, when we were there, there were a bunch of girls. I mean, probably they brought extras and whatever in. I don't know. They were all obviously gorgeous and whatnot, wearing small clothing. And we chatted with them, but not a lot. Like they kind of had they would put them in a separate place, and then our place that we were supposed to spend the day was the game room.
Oh,
It was so weird.
it is. It's a time capsule out there. The game room was a whole separate like guest cottage on the property. And it was kind of this weird combination of like 70s arcade games and 80s arcade games. And then Hef's girlfriend in the 70s, Barbie Benton, had like decorated it like all old school, like American antiques. So there was like this
Yes.
weird mix of like American antiques and like 70s, 80s pinball machines.
Yes. And then there was this, okay, that's so crazy that it was Barbie Benton, who, of course, like, people of my generation know. There was like a pit, like a carpeted area with like a seating
The van
pit.
room.
Yeah. What the heck was that?
That was like a sex room on the side, and it had like
That's
a
where they
carpeted.
put us, Holly.
Yeah, it had like, oh no, in the van room.
Yeah, we were scared. We were scared.
Okay, so it had like a carpeted mattress floor with like pillows, and then there were like mirrored walls, and like the corners looked like mirrors, but then if you turned on a light, it would like the mirror would like disappear, and it would be like sex statues would be fine.
We saw the sex statues.
Yeah.
We did see the sex statues, and we were like, why are we in here? Like, because it was a long day, right? So they
Yeah.
were trying to find somewhere like theoretically comfortable for us, but we had a weird vibe in that room. So I think we tried to move.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that house was haunted too.
It definitely had a lot of like kind of dark energy, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a dark house as well.
Uh-huh.
It's like an old dark house. But then so okay. Oh God, it's giving me stress just thinking about it. But when we went, okay, so let's think about the party itself on film. And I don't know whose idea it was, or I feel like the guys in our world were really into showing all this, right? Like, in the way, that they would be. And so the grotto is, part of it. And as the night goes on, you're like, none of the girls have tops on and whatever. Is this what would happen?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes people would get a little crazier at night. But you know what was crazy about the parties is I always say that at the parties, I never saw anything too wild. I would hear about it, but like as a girlfriend, I would always kind of have to be seated at the table with Hef, which would be over by the dance floor. And believe it or not, people would be more on their best behavior in front of him because everybody wanted to stay on the list. They wanted to get invited back. So it would be more like I would hear from other playmates that like, oh my God, I saw this in the grotto at 2 a.m. But that wasn't the
Oh,
stuff we would see really.
got it. So what would good behavior be for Hef? Like, meaning guys wouldn't be too aggressive with you guys? Not you, but the other non-girlfriends? Is that like, what was the, like, my thing that I felt upset about because they wanted us to all go to a pajama party in some kind of agreement about us filming there. And I was like, I am not going to that pajama party. I don't understand this. Like, that seems a weird situation to put myself in. I felt worried. And also you had to wear some skimpy, I was just like, I can't even get my mind around this. And I don't know if that was really silly of me or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the vibe in terms of the guy woman situation at the parties?
I think for most guests, I mean, obviously I've heard stories that aren't this too, but I think for most guests it was okay. I think if you were really having a problem with somebody, you could tell security and they would have them removed. I mean, I have to imagine having them removed would be easier for somebody who's more of an anonymous guy and maybe not like a big celebrity. But I think it was a pretty safe place for most party goers. Again, with the allowance that I've also heard that that hasn't been the case with some people. But I think for the most part, most people had a good experience at the parties.
Got it. So people did have a feeling of like, I want to be here. I want to get invited back. It's super fun. I'm sure there were drugs but I'm still going to behave like as much as, like I'm not going to freak out. Well, that's good to know because I didn't know what to think. I just remember all the guys I knew wanted to go, and seemed like, for them, like for the men, you know what I'm saying? That's why I didn't really feel like, yes, I would like to put myself in that situation, like at the time. Yeah. But it was also very interesting to be there in terms of, I felt at the time, it was very much held up as being empowering for women in some way. But I feel like we don't think of it that way now, that way. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was what I bought into as well when I went there is like, I want to have this experience as, being in the magazine and being seen as sexy and whatever. And I was just in like the deepest, like inner ring where it really wasn't liberating anymore. But I think that was generally, Playboy was accepted as like this acceptable retro brand that like your dad grew up with and everybody, it seemed pretty tame at the time.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah. But honestly, and this might be just like really too far what I'm going to say, we could cut it out. But like, I thought my innocent little self, when you guys did, because at the time that we filmed, you weren't there yet. It wasn't the Girls Next Door yet. And then when the Girls Next Door happened, I thought it was all fake. Like, I just assumed you guys were not having to have sex with Hef. Like,
yeah, a lot of people thought that. And when I first, moved into the group and like agreed to like go out with Hef and everything, I still wasn't clear on what was going on. Like, I'm like, okay, there has to be something going on. So I'm going to go kind of check it out, see what it is. But I didn't know how much would be going on, or it was very ambiguous because, he'd be out there talking about how he takes Viagra all the time. And these are all my girlfriends and things like that. But like people didn't really believe it. They thought this has to be a publicity stunt.
I did not. Yeah, I did not believe it. So no one explained it to you. Like no one said, this is what it is.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just got sucked in, but little by little.
Yeah, totally. I think when I talk about my situation and people were like, well, you knew what you were getting into, they're picturing that scene in 50 Shades of Grey where she sits down at the table and she's given like this big contract about the consent and what's going to happen. And there's nothing like that up there. It is kind of something you can get into like little by little and kind of like lose yourself. It's very unstructured in that way.
Wow. I'm sorry that happened to you and all the other people,
Yeah.
And it was really held up as like, empowering for you guys and supporting you guys in your dreams. And, he seemed so kind of just like fuddy-duddy-ish. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, he
totally.
was wearing the weird clothes, but like I remember when he was filming with us, he was very nice, as I said, like in a kind of a uncle-y kind of a way.
Mhm.
And then he got up, and you were just like, he's so little and old,
Yeah,
you know. But yet,
totally.
this other stuff was still going on, which just really blows my mind.
Yeah, it was crazy for sure. And I have to say, the scene you guys did there, the casting was so spot on because they have so many female extras, and I recognize some of them. Some of them were playmates, some of them weren't. And then they have a few men sprinkled in there, and the men are all super old. And even like the actor they have you talking to when you're laying down on the pillows, talking to that actor, he looks like he so fits the part. Like everything about his face and his teeth, like he looks like he would be one of Hef's buddies.
I
Like how
agree.
did they know?
I don't know. I don't know. I think they did a great job too, and I had forgotten a lot of it. There's certain things I remember really well. Like I remember the room that they put us in with the games and the sex statues, and I remember they kept trying to tell us that we wanted to go to the zoo, but I was so freaked out that he had wild animals there that I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to go to the zoo. Like, oh, it's weird. Like, but everyone was very nice to us, obviously.
Yeah.
But when we went to do the scene, I do remember being just so generally icked out. And I felt like that guy that I'm talking to wasn't even an actor. He just seemed fully, I mean, I'm sure he was, but like I felt like he was a guy that you would meet at a Hollywood party.
Oh, he embodied it. Like that guy was so good.
He really did. Too good.
Yeah.
Too good. Like I also didn't really remember what happened, which I often feel when I'm rewatching now because it's a while ago, obviously. And I remember the experience of filming more than the scenes. And I thought, oh no, what is Charlotte doing? Don't talk to that guy. Ew. But that's good to know that you think we did a good job of casting it. That's good. Did you feel, because, okay, so you watched this particular episode that aired in 2000 before you lived there. And then once you lived there, did you feel like, oh yeah, Sex and the City was pretty accurate? Or did you feel like, no?
I think I thought it was accurate for sure because it's just showing a party and it looked exactly like what a party would look like. Of course, it doesn't capture everything about day-to-day life there, but it wasn't supposed to. It was just
Right.
characters going to a party. So I thought it was super accurate.
Oh, that's good. Isn't it weird to think that 3 HBO's shows filmed there? Like Entourage, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I do not remember this. And Us. That is bizarre.
Yeah, yeah. It's like everybody. It was crazy.
Do you feel like, and I don't know, this is probably, I don't know if I should even say this, but like, did we help to forward a kind of untrue narrative, that it was glamorous and fun when it was really more than that?
I wouldn't say an untrue narrative because there was that side of it that was like that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the experience a lot of people had who didn't get deeper into it. But I mean, it doesn't cover the whole thing, but I don't think it was supposed to.
No. I mean, it wasn't supposed to, but I do feel just some mixed feelings about the fact that, our show, which is absolutely supposed to be about empowering women, and that was something that we felt really strongly about, and really empowering and making space for all different kinds of sexuality, but freedom within that, and, consent and all of those things. And I remember at the time feeling uncomfortable about it, but that has a lot to do with how I grew up and my mom's opinions of it all, very feminist and not into that. And then I remember later on feeling like, oh, maybe I was wrong, because when you guys did the show, it did seem like you were somehow being supported or forwarding your dreams, or, it didn't seem negative, right? And I thought, oh, well, I'm glad for them, That's how I felt at the time. Of course, not knowing still the whole story, which you guys hadn't had the opportunity to tell. So I'm glad, number one, that you have had the opportunity to tell the whole story, because I do feel like sometimes there's things in our business, maybe less so now, but in our world, the entertainment world in general, where it seems like, oh, this could be a good opportunity for you. And yes, it involves your sexuality, but that doesn't mean that it's inherently bad, right? Mm-hmm. But yet it's a slippery slope.
100%. That's why I talk about it as much as I do. As I've heard, Playboy doesn't exist in the same way as it did back then, but I've heard, people tell me that they grew up watching Girls Next Door and thought it was so fun. So they thought the next best thing to get into would be porn, and now they regret it. So it's crazy the kind of effect those things can have. So that's why I love about it and love talking about, what my motivations were and what I thought I was getting into and what it was really like, just so people kind of know what those situations are.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's so important. And I'm so glad that you're okay. You're at a place in your life where you can do that and you can share that. And you've done the work on yourself to be able to share that without it being, re-traumatizing yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's so important. And I mean, that's also one of the things that I think about when I look at the episodes. Did we unwittingly take part in also glamorizing something that maybe wasn't great for women? I don't know. I don't know. It really was part of our culture, though.
Yeah,
at that point in time. Yeah. So in that way, I feel like, well, it kind of makes sense, right? And of course, we couldn't know everything that was going on behind the scenes because no one was talking at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just
interesting.
So harmless back then.
Right. Except when you were there, it didn't feel harmless. I didn't feel
the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they put us in the sex room. So yeah. We got the vibe. And I feel like the people that they hired, and it's interesting for you to say that you recognize some of them. I do feel like some of them, I feel like we're living there, and we were so fascinated, but we also didn't know, we didn't want to overstep our bounds in terms of like talking to people or asking them questions like, what is your life like? You know what I mean? But we were there for a few days. It seemed like it was a while, that we filmed and it didn't seem like they were just happy-go-lucky, woohoo, we're living the life we want. It seemed like there was more stress, than that.
I feel like I can almost see it on the girls, the twins he's dating.
The twins. Oh
yeah,
my God,
they
right.
don't seem in a light mood. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And that's what we felt. What we felt when we were there. But yet we were supposed to be showing this glamorous. There was really no way to, do a better job of telling the story. And also no one was really volunteering any information to us either. Not that was even our job. But like for me, when I go into a place, I'm always interested in how do people actually seem? Like, do they seem happy? And at the time it was such a, like you said, I mean, those parties you would hear, everybody went to those parties. They were very much mainstream Hollywood. You wanted to go. I mean, not myself because I was scared, as I said, but men in general wanted to go. And I feel like women wanted to go. I mean, I definitely know people who went, but they were actresses, and I don't think anything negative happened, because I mean, you could go to any party in LA and people are going to hit on you. It's not shocking, obviously.
Totally.
And nothing worse than that. You know what I mean? But how, just curiosity's sake, how long did you live there?
I lived there 7 years.
Wow.
Almost all of my 20s. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. Well, it's really great that you got out and that you're writing about it. Is there anything else that you want to talk about from the show or from the episode that I didn't touch on? I'm just so curious, your own perspective.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious, do you remember what the lead time on your show was? Like how far in advance you filmed versus
at that point, not far. It would have been just a couple months. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because we would go back to work in February. We've been pretending it was spring because we always came on in June. Mm-hmm. And so by this point, I have the date here somewhere. We would have been filming and it would have been like maybe 2-3 months before it was on. So pretty quick. We would have been there in the summer of 2000. It would have been on, and it was on in September. So we would have been there in the middle. Yeah. And I do think that the midsummer night party was the week that we were filming because we were all supposed to go. But I was like, well, no one asked me. I'm not going to go. No one got my okay, and I was in some trouble because we had been apparently committed to do it.
No,
by
did
someone.
any of the cast go?
I think they all went.
Oh,
we would have to ask them. I think they all went to kind of like make an appearance and go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think they hung necessarily, but I think that they were good employees as opposed to myself, where I was like, my mother's going to be really mad at me. Yeah. Very Charlotte type of a situation. But I grew up with it was just not thought of as empowering, right? To be outwardly sexual or whatever. But then I find myself on the show called Sex and the City. So, it's all really interesting. But I do feel like, it's an interesting thing to think about too, because obviously your personal experience and what you're going through is not good. And the fact that no one was upfront with you about it is even worse, right? So like you're little by little pulled in. That's the worst situation, I think, and happens so frequently, unfortunately. But I do feel, and it's an interesting thing, the openness about sexuality, I do feel is generally important for women.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
And it's so hard to know when it crosses the line into not being empowering. It's a very interesting thing, I think.
No, I think so too.
Right?
It fascinates me, yeah.
We can't just hide ourselves. Why should we have to hide ourselves? Like, we're sexual beings just like men are sexual beings. Like that it's unfair and, inequitable to think that we can't, right? But then there's so much danger in the world, in many ways, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be careful. It's an interesting thing to me. And I have a 14-year-old daughter, so I think about these things. You know what I mean?
I think so too. My daughter's 12 and
oh, wow.
Yeah, I think more discussion is better, honestly, because like when I was young, kind of the trend was like, or the way it was portrayed in pop culture was like women should just be able to have sex like a man and not care. And, that's empowerment. And I feel like nobody talks about like the emotional impact of sex.
Yeah, I agree.
For some reason. And I think, of course, like females, we operate a little bit differently. Obviously, there's outliers, but I think for most females, there's a huge emotional impact that comes with sex, and just people don't want to talk about that for some reason. They just act like everything should just be casual. They act like you should either be totally casual about it or you need to like have like religious principles that keep you in line. And nobody kind of talks about the in between, like, well, why is it not so great? And how do you really feel?
That's so true. So true, Holly. I mean, I think it's super interesting, certainly when we're thinking about our daughters too, because we have come so far in so many ways. And then in some ways, we still don't have total freedom to talk about anything freely that impacts us, right? Like, why is it not okay to talk about the fact that women are going to potentially be navigating sex differently than men? That makes sense, right? And maybe it's not true, right? Like maybe there's a Samantha out there and she wants to have sex like a man, and more power to her, right? But what about all of the kind of realities of it? Like the realities, and what do we say to our daughters? And I think it's important to think about that. My daughter, they still have sex ed classes that are about like consent and, really important, interesting things that I certainly we didn't get anything like that. We were like, you're going to get your period. Yeah. Like that was really it, But, and I think it's so great. My daughter hates these classes though. Yeah. She's like, oh no. And I'm like, just do it. Just do it. It's going to be useful information.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's so hard to navigate.
100%. It's really tricky. So I think the more discussion, the better, honestly.
I think you're right. Because really, covering things and having secrecy just leads to badness. Mm-hmm. Because then people feel like they can't talk and they can't say something that's true for them, or they can't report something bad that happened to them, or they can't stand up to people. And that's the worst. That's what we need to get rid of.
Absolutely.
Yes. When you look back and you see, like, if you were ever to just be flipping in, or not that people flip, if you were ever to be streaming the episode of Sex and the City at the mansion was there, would you think like, oh, and watch it? Would you be like, oh no, I don't want to watch it?
I mean, for me personally, like I've already seen it and I like it and I think it's fun and I think it's like a fun glimpse into that era. The things I get triggered by more personally, I mean, it's always surprising. Like I do a rewatch podcast with one of my co-stars from Girls Next Door, and the show will hit a certain way. But then we did an episode where we talked about the movie The House Bunny with Anna Faris with the mansion, and we had parts then. And it was weird because this was a very lighthearted comedy. But I told Bridget, I'm like, watching it on that movie like hit differently for some reason. Like I never really know how it's going to hit. But I think the Sex and the City episode, because I wasn't in it and because it more captures the time period when I was just aware of Playboy as kind of an outsider. Like I think I hadn't even gone to, I think that party that the rest of your cast went to was the first party I went to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
So it more kind of captures the era where I still like only knew Playboy from the outside and was kind of fascinated by it. Like I remember thinking the twins he was dating were so gorgeous. I remember seeing them at that party. So for me, it's more one of the ones I like. And you know what else I love, random, is in the scene you're wearing this bikini top that's like cherry print.
Uh-huh.
That is such a blast from the past because I remember so specifically like that summer, like the cherry print being everywhere. Like I think Coach did a bunch of cherry print bags and like I was like in downtown because I was like a broke college student. So I was like in downtown looking for all the fake Coach cherry stuff.
I love it. Yeah, that was Shoshana. Do you ever remember the line Shoshana?
Yes.
That was Shoshana because Shoshana was cut for people with hips, which would be me. And there was always some stress when we would have like beach or bathing suit or whatever because I didn't know what the heck to wear. And Pat Field, our costume designer, was always unsure about me. And then that's my own sarong I just tied on.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you so much. But I also think that we were fundamentally confused in that costume because we come in the daytime, but then it's nighttime. And were we supposed to get in the grotto? I don't even know. Like to me, I watched that episode and I think like, what were we doing? Like, what were we actually doing? I don't know, but it works. I mean, I love that picture of us with the four of us walking in. And also because we are from New York, we also don't really know, what, like the characters aren't supposed to know what they're doing.
They are supposed to be fish out of water. So
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad that you have a positive association when you watch it. That's good.
Definitely.
That makes me happy. Well, you are such a joy. Thank you so much. I have a pressing question for you.
Yes.
Are you a Charlotte?
You know what? Back in the day when Sex and the City was on and I watched it regularly, I was for sure a Charlotte. I identify as being a hopeless romantic and all that. But as time goes on, I think I'm more of a Carrie. I've written a couple memoirs, so I identify as a writer. And also like all the kind of like anxious attachment style cringe stuff that Carrie does has totally been me. Like, have you seen those edits where they do the 3 times she shows up in Big's doorway? And
love them so much.
And the crop, and the guy doesn't give up. That's been me. So many.
Oh no!
I think I'm really a Carrie.
Wow, I love it. I'm also kind of a Carrie. I'm like half Carrie, half Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I do love those edits because there's just a way where you can see things from a different perspective where you're like, that is so embarrassing. You know what I'm saying?
I know, and we've all been there.
We've all been there. And then the funny thing is, like at the time when we were making the show, it never entered my mind that she should stop trying. Like I was like, of course.
Yeah, he's the
go
catch.
in your crop. Yeah, go in your McDonald's, Le Big Mac, whatever. I mean, it's all so interesting. And I like the show in that way and that at different times in your life, you will look at it with different perspectives.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that part the best, I think, because we all relate in different ways.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, you're wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.